The world, in lack of certain terms, is a complex, complicated place right now due to conflicts, genocides, governments ignoring international law and responsibilities to protect the people they promised to protect and serve. I'm going to talk today about my, you know, the conflict in the Middle East. I'm going to talk about it because that's the one I'm more heavily invested in and interested in. Um, so, of course, we know what happened October 7th, but do we know why it happened? Yes and no. Some people argue it happened because it was a terrorist act. It was an act of anti Semitism. It was an act of Jew hatred, which that's not the case at all. Now, for those of you who don't know or didn't look into it or didn't care enough to look into what happened that day and just continued to spew out the propaganda given out on biased Western media news sources and the military censored IDF, stuff like that, you would realize you don't know what happened truly on that day. Yes, Hamas did enter into Israel, which it's really it's a complicated story, but we'll start with the basics. We know the background, the lore. Is Hamas did enter into to Israel, kidnap some people, but that's not the whole story. See, the day of the attack, reports kept leaking, saying that Hamas murdered babies, beheaded babies, raped, um, harassed women. I don't want to say the other word because I don't want to you know, they did bad things to women, babies, and children and killed people. Some of that is true, but if you've been following along for the last 2 years of this conflict, as I have, there's been numerous reports and investigations by world organizations such as the UN and other um, investigative bodies that look into these kind of serious allegations. So they found most of the things that were claimed to happen on October 7th, 2023 were fabricated, made up, did not actually happen. So there's that. Now, yes, Hamas did kill some people that day, but you have to remember that Jews, Israelis, I should say, also are to blame for a good chunk of people that died that day due to the fact that the Hannibal Directive was ordered. So, background on that is the Hannibal Directive is essentially saying that at any cost, any price, make sure no Israeli soldier, civilian, citizen, no Israeli that gets kidnapped or taken is able to cross into other enemies' territories, no matter the price. This includes blowing them up, shooting them, or anything. So they were killed. In investigations proved this to be true. The Israelis literally killed their own people on October 7th to prevent them from being kidnapped. This wasn't fully investigated and released to the public until months to years later, or months to a year, at least a year later. But that's the problem because all we knew at the time was what the Israelis were telling us about what happened. Now, when this conflict first started, I was really not sure about it. I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't know really what to believe. I'm like, well, it's just another conflict in the Middle East. I'm sure old man Joe's gonna send troops there like he did with Afghanistan, like the U.S. did with Afghanistan and Iraq, and just blow it to pieces because America loves to invade countries and blow things up in those countries and then not pay any consequences or any penalties for the actions of the U.S. government in those countries because why would we? We're just as corrupt as Israel. But the point is, after that, reports have come out and people are starting to wake up now because you have to remember this: the world is different. Back in 1945, when the United Nations was being created after the Holocaust, there's smartphones, social media, and all that did not exist yet. Okay, you did not have smartphones. You did not have all these forms of technology. So it was hard to record and show the world what was happening. All you had to rely on back then was photography, international media, and what's not, and all that. Compared to today, where you have freelance photographers and journalists, phones, smartphones, technology. What up? What up? All right, hold on a minute before I continue. What's up, everyone? If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you smack the thumbs up button. If you like what you hear, what you see, smash that subscribe button down below. Support the channel if you wouldn't be so kind. Turn your notifications all the way up to all so you'll never miss new and exciting content from me. But yeah, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, chat down below, and welcome. But yes, as I was saying, the world of warfare has changed. People have easier access to technology in certain aspects to be able to record and expose the crimes of war-mongering parties. Now, back in the Holocaust, my point is, in the Holocaust, if we had smartphone technology and social media, I don't believe the Holocaust would have gone as bad as it did. That being said, it's 2025. The UN is a joke. Most of the time, people don't even respect whatever the UN has to say because nothing gets done at the UN. Personally, I can agree with that. I've seen what the UN does. They beg, they talk, they beg some more, and then when that doesn't work, they just keep begging and talking. They don't take action. They can't do nothing. Whatever they want to do, but can't, has to go through the UN Security Council, but then ends up being paralyzed by vetoes. So the world has to realize that the United Nations has failed. Now, I'm not saying don't trust the UN, but I'm saying it needs to be reformed because during this 2-year conflict for Palestine and Israel, which is essentially now a genocide, the first UN inquiry that has you mentioned and confirmed that genocide is is taking place in Palestine. But the UN needs to be reformed because, as I said in my video, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's up now. But as I said earlier, you can't change the world if you're too weak to change anything. I've also mentioned that the UN hasn't been able to be relevant since 1945. It's still acting as if we're still in post-World War II, 1945. That's not the case anymore. The world has changed. Rules of war have changed. Countries have gotten stronger. Countries have gone out. There's countries that don't exist anymore. Countries that do exist now. So the UN is not functioning at the level the world is at right now. But now back to the original point. 2 years of genocide, of bombing everything literally in sight. Hospitals, schools, churches, mosques, religious sites, settler attacks in the West Bank, illegal settlement building, illegal annexation. And yet, Israel still wants to play the victim. What people need to realize is not everything is anti Semitic. That's the big problem. When the Jew, or I should say, when a Jew is a Israeli, I'm trying not to be offensive, but when a Jew or an Israeli gets confronted on something that they don't like and they don't believe in it, they tend to go the "you're being anti-Semitic" route. No, no, I don't get to play that card. Say I'm Christian. I don't get to play the "you're being anti-Christian" card whenever someone disagrees with what I believe. No, no. Now, I get it. There are people who are anti-Jews, anti-Islamic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, and those are unacceptable. Completely. It's 2025. We should be better than being the racist, hateful humans we've been for the last hundreds of thousands of years. Well, hundreds of thousands of years. You got to be better. There's no reason anti-Semitism should be existing in 2025. There's no reason Islamophobia should be existing in 2025. I've seen videos of IDF soldiers burning the Quran, desecrating religious sites in Palestine, including Christian churches. Nothing gets done. Nothing changes. Yo, DVS. Today the topic is, and bear with me, it's a little political, but it's also a very important topic. The conflict in Gaza, Palestine, Israel. I just need to talk about it because people need to learn the truth. Like, I've been investing myself into this topic personally for a while. I can't go over there personally because I'm sure, yes, I'm an American. That saves my life a little bit from being shot by the IDF, but it's too risky right now. But people need to realize that there's two sides of the coin. Yes, Hamas has done bad things, but that doesn't give Israel the right to do even worse things than Hamas. Some people have been comparing Israel to the neo-Nazis. Some people have even thrown out the word Gaza is a giant Israeli concentration camp for Muslims. That's how bad it's been getting. Now, some numbers. I don't have my notes for me, but 17,000 Palestinian children have been shot, killed, and orphaned by the Israeli Defense Forces. This includes the Army and Air Force, Navy as well. We've seen racial statements from the leadership of the Israeli government. Ben Giver, convicted of hatred. He's a racist. He's been convicted of this many times. He's also very, very selfish and has no respect for anything. We've seen him desecrate the El Aqsa Mosque multiple times. He takes soldiers with him because he knows he would not make it in if he didn't have protection, and he shouldn't have protection. When you're a racist and you're a tyrant, you shouldn't be able to be protected because you hate everyone else around you that's not Jewish. Now, yes, I get it from a standpoint. I understand kind of why the Jews are so paranoid about security and stuff like that, but the Holocaust was 75 plus years ago. We literally fought a world war to stop the Holocaust, to defend the Jews from the Germans. Yes, millions of people died. That was a tragic genocide. But genocide is also not based off numbers. If you remember correctly, the definition of genocide is the intent, keyword, intent, to willfully destroy or cause destruction to a population, no matter what, a population, religion, any kind, and cause it to be extinct or kill it off completely, aka ethnic cleansing as well, but that's also what Israel has been doing. But the key word is intent. if you have the intent and are intending to kill off an entire population out of racism, out of desire just to kill them, that's genocide. And most people tend to think, well, hold on a minute, genocide. That's a strong word, but people also I'll say, well, if you say genocide, you must be talking about millions of people. Not exactly. And the UN has also mentioned in their definition that it's not about the number of people that have been killed. It helps, unfortunately, to say that the number of people helps define genocide, but the definition of genocide is the intent. You have to remember it's intentional. If it's like if I went out and intended to destroy a colony of ants or something because I decided I hated ants, that would be genocide, kind of. But that's my point is people are the world is divided by what they've been seeing and hearing. The amount of as I said, it's the fake news and the misinformation campaigns. It's blurring the vision between truth and reality, facts and fiction. Yes, I get it. There's times where people see things and it looks real, especially in the age of AI. But it's not always what it seems. This Photoshop, this AI, people can manipulate images and information to make you believe something happened or didn't happen. And it's very easy to do that these days, and you would not be able to catch the difference if you didn't know what you were looking for. Now, we've had 3 ceasefires, including the one we have now. The first one was a week, and I believe Israel got some hostages back, I believe, and stuff, but then they went back to war after the week because, why not? Because peace, in my opinion, is not something the Jews in Israel, or Israelis, I should say. I don't want to make it sound like I'm singling out all Jews. I'm not. I'm just saying the Israelis went back to a war after the first ceasefire, the second ceasefire, and most likely after this ceasefire is going to collapse because the Israelis want to go to war, back to war. Because, and here's a key piece of information for you, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is actually not even from Israel, he's actually from Poland, changed his entire name. Go look it up, you'll see I'm true. Benjamin Netanyahu has been trying to avoid starting an inquiry into why October 7th happened, because he knows he'd be at fault. He'll be blamed for it, because he is the leader. He was at fault. He did not take seriously the signs that Hamas was going to attack. He ignored it. And then they attacked, and he's like, well, good, we can go to war now. I support Palestine. I can't support Israel knowing they're doing the exact same thing the Germans did to them, to the Palestinians. And I get a lot of people telling me, well, you can't do that, you're being rude, you don't know what you're talking about, you're being very anti-Semitic, you're a terrorist supporter. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm explaining my position to you so you can understand what I am seeing. I get it, people. You have your opinions. That's great. We have a free country. You're able to do that. I have those same rights. But my point being, Benjamin Netanyahu wants this war to continue because he knows as long as the war continues, he won't have to go to jail because he'll be able to use the security developments to keep himself out of prison, because he knows he's got three charges on him for corruption, but he's been trying to avoid those corruption charges by getting out of court by using security as a concern, because he knows if he's found guilty, bye-bye political career, hello being a bitch in someone else's jail. He might not even survive in jail. I honestly don't think he would, because he's such a bad leader. He He's literally dragged Israel's name through the mud. Now, I have nothing wrong with Israel. I don't agree with them right now, what they're doing. They piss me off, but I got nothing against Israel. I think the people are good. It's the leadership that's bad. I can say the same about my government. The U.S. government is just as complicit in this genocide as Israel is. No, I'm not. We can't forget the United Kingdom as well, and Germany and France, but we have to remember that with every consequence, there is also, well, no, with every action we take, there is a consequence. Unfortunately, the consequence now is the fact 60,000 people dead, but the actual total number could be well into 200, 300,000. 17,000 children dead, hundreds of thousands of children orphaned, entire families wiped out because of Israel's selfishness, their desire to go to war, to keep their prime minister out of jail, and because it's racism. Racism still exists in 2025. It should not, but it does. Now, you also have all these older people like Donald Trump and the U.S. government backing Israel because the most, if you look in the polls, you will see most older people, or older generations of people, tend to be more favorable of Israel. You also notice that's become less and less of an statistic because some of these older people are beginning to see that what Israel is doing is wrong. The young people have already long since done that. Committing genocide is not something to be proud of. Yet Israel continues to boast about it like it's like they're taking care of like world terrorism or something, and they're not. When you attack civilians, all wars, that's not war anymore. That's criminal behaviors. There's reasons there's rules of engagement, ROE. Civilian infrastructure, civilians are not to be targeted. Foreign media, domestic media are not to be targeted either. The press, let's talk about this for a second. The press is protected by civilian rights because the press records and shows the world what is happening in war zones. Israel has killed more people, more foreign media and press in the Gaza genocide alone than any other conflict in history. This includes World War I and World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan. It's terrible. The stuff you would have thought would not have been able to happen in 2025 is happening, and the world is too weak to do anything about it. Yes, you got people trying to make a difference, but it's hard. How do you make a difference when you got Uncle Sam trying to tell you, no, you can't support these people, otherwise we're going to cut off funding for you, we're going to attack you, or we're going to add you onto our list of terrorism. It's hard because you got all these Uncle Sam, which is the United States, is going to try to blackmail you into being an ally of Israel. If you've looked into the ceasefires, you will have noticed that none of the ceasefires are favorable or are fair for both sides. They are more heavily favored towards Israel because the U.S. wants to be a mediator and wants to make it so that Israel can stay superior in the Middle Eastern region over everyone else. However, my suspicion is that because of the amount of wars Israel has waged against Iraq, well, they haven't really waged many against Iraq, but they've been fighting like small militia there. But Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, Yemen, Iran for sure, Palestine, Syria, Tunisia, and Qatar. Israel's not going to have many allies in this region if they continue this constant, always going to war every freaking minute of the day, because you're going to piss people off. You're going to attack the wrong country, and they did when they attacked Qatar. But you're going to attack the wrong country, which they also did when they attacked Iran and got backs blown out by Iran, but Israel continues to fail to learn that you do not attack your neighbors. Israel was never meant to be in the Middle East. The only reason Israel is in the Middle East is because of the British mandate that expired, and Britain decided to give away Palestinian land to Israel. And look what happened: the 1967 war, where Israel attacked all its neighbors and declared independence. Let's not forget, Israel was getting its ass kicked by Egypt at this time. The only reason Israel was able to win was because they, surprise, surprise, received massive amounts of funding and military equipment and hardware from the United States military and government. Wow. So, point is, Israel has never been a true sovereign nation. They cannot depend on themselves. They rely on the United States for funding, military equipment, domestic and political cover. Israel, if the United States cut off Israel today, Israel would be done for in a few months, I would think, because there's no way Israel is able to survive in a region like the Middle East, surrounded by enemies, well, surrounded by countries that don't like Israel because Israel is an aggressive rogue state. Israel has committed terrorism in multiple countries. Lebanon, the pager explosion is a big one I can think of. Iran, when they were blowing up, they were doing like blowing up fireworks and buses in Iran. They've done so much acts of terrorism in other countries, but they get away with it because they got the political cover from the United States and the financial support too, unfortunately. But you have to remember, the governments of the world are beginning to slowly see that the populations of their countries are not supporting this genocide anymore. But the governments are acting so slowly, so slow. They're not doing anything, and they're not doing enough. Now, they did more to stop Hitler during World War II, but now they're not doing anything. It's because it's Israel, blah, you know what I mean? It's Israel and not another country. If another country was doing this to Palestine and it wasn't Israel, you would probably see a little more engagement from other people. But because it's Israel, countries are scared to act because they're afraid. I don't even know why. Israel is probably one of the smallest countries in that region, maybe. But Israel is not a superpower. It does have potential. We do believe it has nukes, but they will not confirm or deny that. They will also not sign the new NPT treaty suspiciously. When it comes to unstable countries in that region, number one is Israel. And you got countries beginning to realize, Iran may not be the biggest threat to us anymore. Israel is. Iran has not attacked and has never attacked 7 countries all around it. Israel is. Iran, yes, they attacked Qatar, but they attacked the United States air base. They did warn the U.S. about it to allow personnel to move and stuff, so they kept them safe. But Iran has not attacked anyone that has. In fact, most of the time, Iran's just been defensive because Israel attacked Iran first, obviously, if you remember that in June. And then Israel got its ass kicked and needed to ceasefire. But you got countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, 2 of the wealthiest nations in that region, talking about, hey, what's going on here? Is Iran really as dangerous as Israel's been telling us for the last 30 goddamn years? Let's not forget, Benjamin Netanyahu's been spilling the same bullshit about Iran's going to have nukes tomorrow. And then 10 years later, Iran's going to have nukes tomorrow. let's move forward 10 more years. 30 years later, Iran's gonna have nukes tomorrow. 40 years later, Iran still doesn't have nukes. So why the U.S. still believes Israel? And why the world still believes Israel's bullshit on that, I don't know. But you know, I guess it's easy to believe someone when they're constantly crying about being the victim and playing the poor me card and, all that shit. But, but yeah, I might do another video tomorrow. I don't know. But yes, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I have posted a video on this topic. So go check it out if you haven't. Drop a like, watch it, leave a chat down below under the video. I also posted a short up on this topic too. So, yeah, I got that up now. Go check it out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And yeah, I'll probably do another video on this topic soon. And yeah, we'll talk again soon, friends.